Hey everyone, this is Chantel Girardi from Online Business Marketing, and today we're going to be talking about crafting a powerful brand message, which includes being absolutely clear on what your unique selling proposition is, your USP. And if you don't know what that is, that's okay, I'll explain it, as well as your mission statement. Now, again, this is the stuff that people don't do, and then they wonder why their stuff isn't cutting through. They wonder why they're not getting people reaching out or engaging in their content. And it's because these fundamental, foundational, concrete stuff is the reason why it doesn't cut through, because whoever does this stuff best gets the client. And having those mission statements will help you to be able to differentiate yourself in the marketplace. And when you have those words, you can then sprinkle them in all your content so that it becomes like McDonald's. It becomes that recognizable M sign that everybody knows. So why does your brand message, your USP, and your mission statement matter? Well, if you're struggling to cut through online, because, in the olden days, there was only 1 billion on social media. Now there's like 8 billion on social media. So there's so much on there and in front of our eyes that if your stuff doesn't have a clear message and doesn't have the clarity in its brand message and mission statements and compelling USPs, it's not going to be able to generate those leads or sales, or alternatively, it will catch the wrong people. I often hear people saying, we're getting website traffic, but something's not converting, or we've got lead magnets, but the lead magnets aren't actually, working. It's often because of this stuff here. So in our last session, we spoke about the ideal client. So if you haven't watched that one, make sure you go back and have a look at that, because you do have to be clear on who your ideal client is first before you can come up with the second part. And the second part is obviously about having that clear and compelling brand message, because it's going to help you stand up from your competitors online. It's going to help communicate your value quickly. This is the other thing. People don't mind paying for stuff. They honestly don't mind paying for stuff if there's value attached to it. So sometimes we're trying to sell stuff, but we forget about putting the value of what it is that we actually have. So it's about standing out online. It's about communicating that value clearly. It's about connecting emotionally. And I say this all the time. I always say you've got to make sure that you have connection. If you don't have connection and show them you know them, it will not cut through. This stuff's going to help you with that today. And then it's about understanding what those words are. So you can now take those words and sprinkle them across every single platform so that you become known in that space, and your audience online, your ideal audience online, feels that they are your people. You're basically closing the gap between them being a stranger and them engaging your services or buying your products. So as I said, these are foundational elements. And if your marketing is just too generic, I call it fluffy. If it's just too fluffy and it's trying to catch everyone and it appeals to everyone, unfortunately, it's not going to resonate. And if it doesn't resonate, it's not going to lead the person to take the next step and engage your services. All right. So what is the brand message, your unique selling proposition, USP, and your mission statement? So your brand message is a clear statement of who you help, what problem you solve, and the transformation you deliver. So if you just get those three things right, that will be your brand message. And I do have some examples for you today. So a clear statement of who you help, what problem you solve, and the transformation you deliver. And again, the more specific you can be and the less fluffy and generic you can be, the more it's going to cut through. Now, your USP, so your unique selling proposition, is the unique way you deliver the value and what makes you different from your competitors. So it's the method in which you do it, that point of difference. And your mission statement is the bigger reason behind what you do. So it's your purpose and it's the impact that you want to have. So together, when you understand your brand message, your USP, and your mission statement, these create the backbone for your marketing and your customer communications. And again, I see this like a nurture sequence as well. If you don't get these three things defined and right, and you're doing email marketing, you're doing social media, you're doing your website, it's not going to cut through. It's going to be fluffy, and people aren't going to take action. So let's just go through some step-by-step processes to help you create to create these things. So number one, you have to know who your ideal customer is. And as I said, if you're unsure on what that is, make sure you go to onlinebusinessmarketing.com.au, go to free resources and have a look at the training that we did last week, which was called Ideal Customer. It's basically who they are, what their pain points are, and what is their outcomes that they want, or the desires they have, or the aspirations, okay? And as I said, the last training, we delved a lot more into that. So if we use an example of the kinesiologist, which we used last week, and we say that this time that our ideal customer is a woman aged between 35 and 45 years old, who are busy professionals and they're struggling with energy and stress. Then number two, step two, is we're going to clarify the problem that we're going to solve. So we've got to go, this person, what is the problem that we actually solve for them? What is the specific challenge that what we does actually addresses? So for example, it might be ongoing fatigue and a lack of stress management. So then with step three, we go, right, let's define the transformation that we offer. So what's the result that you can help them achieve? And what happens is when people go into the transformation, they start talking about the deliverables. Oh, well, you show up for 1 hour one-on-one sessions, or we book you into a call, or we do this, or we do that. We start talking about the deliverables of it, and people couldn't care about the deliverables. They just care about the transformation. So you future pace them to see the result of what you can help them achieve. So for example, if Lee is helping people buy houses, it's not about, oh, well, I can show you some houses to buy on the Sunshine Coast. The outcome is you can finally get the house of your dreams. You can finally get out of the rental market and get the house that you've always wanted that you've always dreamed of. And you can finally have as many dogs as you want in the garden, and you can click in as many paintings as you want in the wall. And I know that sounds really weird, but for me as a renter, that was one of my things. All I wanted to do was be able to put a painting on the wall wherever I wanted to do it. So when you understand your ideal customer, suddenly it's not about buying a house. It's about the outcome that they're actually wanting to achieve. It's about showing them that you actually know them. And number four then is about identifying your unique selling proposition. So what makes you different? So what is your point of difference? Points of difference. Now, often your points of difference could be you. So if your personal branding is in it. So for example, Sheila works with Paulina, who's an interior designer. Paulina is the interior designer. So her personal brand, and she's the person who does it. So therefore, she is part of the method. She's part of the transformation. She's part of the method. So her personal branding, therefore, has to be featured in their marketing. Okay. So part of the unique selling proposition is Paulina's method and her way of doing things, her unique method. It's going to be her experience. And then the specific, I don't know, method or kind of, maybe there's a special type or style that she likes to design in. All of those things are going to obviously then be relevant. So you've got to come up with what those point of differences are. Now, I've spoken about this before. It's so easy to do. Competitors analysis, you can do it through ChatGPT. Go back and watch a previous recording on that. But also taking all your testimonials, putting them into ChatGPT, and then asking, from my testimonials, what do you think my brand message is? What do you think my point of difference is? What do you think my USP is? Okay, so again, this is a great exercise. It's a cheat. In the olden days, we used to use our HI. Now we can use our HI, our AI, and our HI again in order to get the result. So for the USP for a kinesiologist, the example might be practical kinesiology solutions that busy professionals can do from home. Okay. So then step 5, we're going to create your mission statement. Okay. And your mission statement defines your deeper purpose and motivation beyond just making a sale. So it explains why you exist and who you serve. So for me, I love working with purpose-led business owners, and I'm all about meaningful marketing. And that's why my podcast is called the Meaningful Marketing Podcast, because I wanted the results to be meaningful for the business owner. I wanted the marketing to be meaningful for the virtual assistants and marketing managers, but I also want it to be meaningful in that it also makes money, but meaningful as in it also makes an impact for the people that it serves. And that is why, that's why I went with the name, the Meaningful Marketing Podcast. So my mission statement would of course include something like that, because that's my deeper purpose of what I'm trying to create, like what my values are. So a formula to craft your mission statement would be, our mission is to insert the impact or the goal, for insert the ideal customer, by and insert what you do and how you do it. So you have to know the impact or goal you want, your ideal customer, and what you do or how you do it. So our mission is to impact or goal for ideal customer by what you do or how you do it. Okay. So the example for the kinesiologist would be, our mission is to empower busy professional women to reclaim their energy and reduce stress naturally through accessible kinesiology techniques. So if you put it all together, you've got your brand message. And again, for the kinesiologist, we would go, we help busy professional women struggling with stress and low energy to feel balanced and revitalized through simple kinesiology routines. And then we go to the USP, which would be, unlike other wellness providers, we offer quick at-home kinesiology techniques designed specifically for busy professionals. And then the mission statement would be our mission is to help women lead healthier, happier lives with less stress and more vitality. So if we put some exercises to refine your points of difference, and re-look at your USP, we can go, number one, how do you identify what your unique strengths are? So your unique strengths in your personal brand, but of course then in your business brand as well. So what skills, experience, or perspectives do you bring that others don't have? And what do clients consistently praise you for? And that's why testimonials are so important. I always say, because it's really hard to kind of look at yourself and go, oh, this is what my point of difference. Oh, these are my strengths. Because sometimes, you can't read the label from inside the jar. But I always say, sometimes if you step outside of yourself and you go, if I was to pass away and everybody came to my funeral and everybody I ever knew stood up and said something about me, everything from the coffee lady I get my coffee from every single day to my children, people I work with, what would be the common things? They'd go, Chantel was always like this, and Chantel was always like that. And that is how you can do it. So sometimes I find that's a really good exercise that I do with my clients to come up with what those strengths are. Okay, because sometimes it's really hard. So for the virtual assistants, they can sometimes do it because they can have a look at the testimonials and reviews, but they could also say to the business owners, hey, I've noticed that these are some of the strengths that you have. And when I look at the competitors, they don't have these strengths. So I think these are unique strengths to you that we should highlight. So if we're looking for some prompts to put into ChatGPT, we'd go, what do people say I do better than anyone else? What process or system do I use that others don't? So process or system, it could even be modality. Okay, so modality, method. So for example, with Donna, hers is plastic-free drinkware. That is her, her unique special thing. And then number two, of course, you've got to analyze the market and your competitors. So what are the others doing? But specifically, we're looking at what are the gaps in the market. So yes, they may be offering this, but people always say something. So I'll give you an example. I'll use Lee as an example for this one. There's a real estate agent on the Gold Coast, and I work with a few real estate agents, and they might go, real estate agents, they wear suits. They're just not personable. Sometimes they're just so uptight and they're just so about the buying and the selling, and they're just not, paying attention to where I'm at right now and the stress I'm going through, making a decision of if I'm going to be buying or selling right now. And then Lee can go, and he can now go, okay, well, if this is how they are, and this is what people in the marketplace are saying, I'm not that person. So I can now use that language in there to go, I'm happy to have a discussion with you. I'm happy to chat to you. People say that I'm personable. I'm happy to have a conversation, no obligation. You can now start bringing those key messages into your marketing. So you're not saying, hey, you're not dissing them, but what you are doing is highlighting the gap of what people are saying and you're doing. So an example that you could put into ChatGPT is, what are my competitors missing that my audience is still struggling with? So you could put your competitors into there. You could put their reviews and testimonials in there. You could do a customer survey, and then you could prompt ChatGPT as well and ask, what are some of the gaps? And then exercise 3 is customer-centric reviews. So asking past or current customers, why did you choose me? What stood out for you? So asking your past or current customers, why did you choose me, or what stood out for you? You could do this with as a survey. So for example, OBM Hub, our software that we use, has surveys in it, which is amazing. So you can actually send out a survey. You could make it anonymous, or you could have it so that people could answer either or. But that's a great way to actually get feedback if you're unsure. And the outcome is that you're going to get clear answers that are going to help you rephrase your USP to address real customers' needs and differentiators. So how do we apply your brand message, your USP, and your mission statement in your marketing? Well, once you've got them, we've got to now make sure that it gets sprinkled across everywhere, right? So for example, it would be your website headline. So your website headline. Okay, so again, for the kinesiologist, it would be helping busy professional women reclaim their energy and manage stress naturally without complicated routines. Then you would go and you'd update your social media bios. And so many people haven't done this. So like, you go to your website, the website says one thing, you go to your social media, it says another thing, you go to the lead magnet, it says something else. You want to make sure that there's consistency from LinkedIn through to all your social media platforms, bios, about sections, and website. So your bio, for example, on Facebook or on Instagram or even on LinkedIn could be helping professional women manage stress and boost energy using at-home kinesiology. Free guide in the bio. Because remember, the purpose of social media is to get people off social media. So it's about offering them something to get off it, right? And then, of course, looking at your email signatures, because in your email signature, you want to make sure that you are letting people know who you are. So, for example, you could go, helping you manage stress and gain energy with quick kinesiology tips, and here's a free guide. All right. And then creating lead magnets that have got the similar titles. So the same theme titles. So, for example, a lead magnet could be 5-minute kinesiology routine to 5-minute kinesiology routine to relieve stress and recharge energy, designed for busy professionals. So I love qualifiers and disqualifiers when it comes to your lead magnets. So other places you can do it, you can put this on your speakers kit. You could have it in your podcast, your YouTube channels. You just want to make sure that everywhere you've got the same slogan. This is what we do. This is the problem we solve for who and how, right? All right, so let's just have a look at a few more ChatGPT prompts that will help you come up with your brand message and your USP. Okay, so number 1, you could say, help me create a brand message for my industry. My ideal customers are, and you would put that in there, and they are struggling with, and you would put that in there because you would have previously done the exercise. And you could say, our customers want this transformation or this outcome, and put that in there. Okay, and then ask it to create a brand message for you. Number 2, you could say, give me examples of unique selling propositions for my business. I want to stand out by, and again, you would be putting in what makes you unique and your point of difference. Number 3, you would go, rewrite this brand message to make it more customer focused and emotionally engaging. And I love that one. That one over there for me is just freaking amazing. So I'm going to say that again. Rewrite this brand message to make it more customer focused and emotionally engaging. I always get a couple of suggestions, and then as always, you always put the HI into the AI, and then you put the HI back into it again. That is the human intelligence. So often I will merge them. I'll say, look, I like suggestion 1 and suggestion 4. Let's put those 2 together and see if we can come up with something. I think we did that with Lee last week, actually. Number 4, Help me write a mission statement that explains why I do what I do and who I help. Now, again, you've got to make sure you've customized ChatGPT, and ChatGPT actually knows who you help and how. So make sure that you've done the ideal customer exercise first. And then number 5, another prompt could be, what are some website headline options that communicate my brand message and USP clearly? Okay. And for this one over here, you want to make sure, and I often say this, please sound like me or my ideal customer and not like ChatGPT. So the biggest tip, of course, is to add as much answers that align with your. So give it as much information as possible, and never, ever, 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 ever just take it and copy paste and put it in. You go back in and you've either got to rework it until it's something more in alignment with your overall strategy. And again, I never want anything to sniff of ChatGPT ever. So you've got to go and rework it. And that's the fun part. I just copy paste it onto a Google Doc, and then I sit there and I just rework it. And I actually love that. I just go through, rework it. I make sure it sounds like me. So again, why does this matter? Well, your brand message, your USP, and your mission statement aren't just nice to haves. They're critical for making connection, for actually cutting through and making connection. And it's the only thing that is going to create leads and sales. The right person's not going to take action unless you're clear on this, and that puzzle pieces matches their puzzle piece. So your brand message, USP, and mission statement has to match them, else the magnet's not going to work, else the puzzle pieces aren't going to connect. It just won't. Because when you communicate exactly who you help, how you help them, and why you do it, and how different it is to everyone else, it makes it super, super easy for the right people to choose you over the competition. So clarity in your messages is going to help you have higher engagement on social media and email. It's going to help you get more qualified leads, and they're going to understand what you actually do, and it's going to increase your sales from your customers when they actually trust you because they feel like you know them, and now they feel like they know you. All right, so that is that for today, guys. For those of you who are watching online, I'm going to say goodbye. We're going to go to our live audience now and answer questions and have a look at their takeaways and how we're going to work through some possible examples. For those of you who want to be part of the live audience, just have a look and you can choose a time to chat. Alternatively, you can jump onto the website onlinebusinessmarketing.com.au.